There are fresh warnings today about the dangers of social media to children, and they're coming from the U.S. Surgeon General. Dr. Vivek Murthy says apps like TikTok and Instagram are major contributors to a mental health crisis affecting young people. And he's calling on Congress to put warning labels on social media platforms, just like the ones on tobacco products. For more on this, I'm joined by Mitch Prinstein. He's the Chief Science Officer of the American Psychological Association and Professor of Psychology and Neuroscience at the University of North Carolina. Thanks very much for being on the show.
Sure, thanks for having me.
I want to start with your reaction. Essentially, Dr. Murthy pitching this idea that, Congress should treat social media like alcohol, like cigarettes. What do you make of this?
I think it's a great idea. We have science that continually is showing that social media is set up in a way that works differently for adults than it does for teenagers because of the way the teenagers' brains are developing. And absolutely nobody is regulating social media content, features, or function right now. So kids are getting on there. We know that they're being harmed. Nothing's happening to protect kids right now, and a warning is what's needed.
How are they being harmed by social media?
So many things that we're starting to learn. Kids' brains are developed so they are initially at those early ages, 11, 12, 13 of adolescence, they are really supercharged, interested in what their peers think of them. It used to be that we went home after school and that was the end of it, right? Maybe we called kids on the phone, but now they have 24/7 access to peers. And that's not the concern as much as all of the artificial intelligence, the infinite scroll, the emotional content that's fed to them specifically to keep them engaged for as long as possible. Well, what's happening is that kids are losing sleep. That's really important for the developing brain. We know that kids are getting exposed to cyber hate, which is very crucial for the development of anxiety and depression. We know that they're being shown images that are making them hypersensitive to their body shape and their appearance. Those are just a few of the many things that we're seeing now.
Do you think these warning labels, putting warning labels like they are already on cigarettes on social media, can actually change behavior of these youth?
Well, right now, parents are absolutely feeling helpless. They know that there's a problem, but they have a hard time wrestling that device back away from their kids, especially if they've already done it. If they haven't given their kids access to a device, they feel tremendous pressure from their teens who are getting tremendous pressure from their peers to let them on. The warning at least gives parents the ability to say, look, there's good reason why I'm keeping this from you, and there's good reason why I should make sure you're on it for, very few minutes a day, because we now have, substantial evidence leading to a warning saying that this might harm you. And that gives me the power to say it's not okay for you to be on there at class, at nighttime, at the dinner table, and so on.
How optimistic are you that Congress will actually heed the Surgeon General's call?
Well, there are a series of bills right now that are on the floor. There's one bill in particular, the Kids Online Social Safety Act, that has about 62 signatures at the U.S. Senate, which means that it would pass if it was brought to the floor today. I don't know what will be made of the Surgeon General's request for a warning label. That would have to be its own bill. But hopefully this pressures Congress to do something, including to pass the bills that are sitting right in front of them that have enough signatures to pass.
There's been a push from Congress that brought people in and sort of questioned them about the harms that are being caused by this, but people have been fairly critical about the lack of movement on this issue. What do you make of that?
Well, it's hard to explain a lot of what's happening in the U.S. government these days, but, we can say that the added attention to this issue is hopefully empowering schools to get those phones out of class time, parents to get those phones out of their kids' hands by 9, 10 o'clock at night, so that way their kids can get an undisrupted 8 hours of sleep, which is critical for brain development, and hopefully putting some pressure on the tech companies to do what they're fully capable of doing, which is to train kids how to use their products safely, to offer appropriate warnings for what they know are harmful aspects to their products, and to build in some guardrails.
Yeah, what more beyond labels like this do you think needs to be done going forward?
Tech companies could be taking down cyber hate almost immediately after it's posted. They could get rid of the infinite scroll and the like button and the artificial intelligence for kids. They could change their models so they're focused more on child well-being than on profit off of kids' data. Schools could be teaching digital media literacy, because we do live in a world now where we have to learn how to use these platforms safely. And parents could be taking their kids' devices away from them at a certain time. We've talked with so many kids who have told us in their 20s, I wish that my parents never gave me a device when I asked for it at 12 years old. Now, years later, I regret that they ever listened to me.
Mitch Prinstein, great to get your thoughts on this. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you.
Mitch Prinstein is the Chief Science Officer of the American Psychological Association.